Welcome everyone to 24 Hours of PaaS Summit Preview 2016. We're excited you can join us today for Marcus Ermula Jensen's session, My Favorite Pie Chart, Simple Rules for Clear Visualizations. This 24 Hours of PaaS event consists of 24 consecutive live webinars delivered by expert speakers from the PaaS community. The sessions will be recorded and posted online after the event. That will be in about a week's time. And to access any of the on-demand sessions, please visit www.24hoursofpaas.com for all session links. My name is Martin Kearney. I'm a data platform MVP based out of Melbourne, Australia, so we can see how global this event is, that I'm hosting it for a speaker in Austria, for all of you attendees from all other parts of the world. I'm also the organizer of the Saturday Melbourne event and run a chapter in Melbourne as well. I've got a few introductory slides that I'll have before I hand over the reins to Marcus to give us the presentation. If you want to shift it on one, Marcus. Just a bit of technical assistance first of all. If you have any issues and require technical assistance, please type the question into the question pane located on the right side of your screen and someone will assist you. This question pane is also where you may ask any questions throughout the presentation. Feel free to enter your questions at any time, and once we get to the Q&A portion of the session, I'll read your questions aloud to Marcus. You'll be able to zoom in on the presentation content by using the Zoom button, which is located on the top of the presentation window. Please note that there will also be a short evaluation at the end of the session, and your feedback is very important to us, so please take a moment to complete it, and it will appear in your web browser. I'd like to take a moment to thank our presenting sponsors, Microsoft, Idera, and the community. In addition, I'd also like to thank the supporting sponsors for this event, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and SQL Sentry. The staging of 24 Hours of PaaS would not be possible without their generous support, and they're the reason this event is available free of charge to you. Want to move on to the next slide, please, Marcus? Make sure that you explore everything else PaaS has on offer for data professionals. If you aren't a member, you can join up and also join any local user groups around the world, special interest groups, and find free online resources through our Learning Center and read up on the latest community news in the Connector newsletter. Next, I'd like to bring your attention to the upcoming PaaS Summit, taking place in Seattle and Washington from the 25th to the 28th of October. PaaS Summit 2016 features over 200 sessions with world-class data experts. It's the perfect place to network with experts and peers, and you can meet the SQL engineering team, or the Microsoft engineering team, behind SQL Server 2016. You can also save $200 on registration by using the exclusive discount code 24HOP200 before the end of Sunday, September the 18th. To find out more about this, visit www.paassummit.com. Next slide, please. So Marcus is a BI architect, as well as a Microsoft certified solution expert. He's an active member of PaaS, leading the chapter in Austria, and he's also an organizer for SQL Saturday in Vienna. So now, without further ado, here's Marcus with My Favorite Pie Chart.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you stated now. Welcome to my session about my favorite pie chart. The agenda will be quite easy. See what's happening here. Yeah, here's my favorite pie chart. The agenda is very easy. I will show you what I think is a good visualization of data, one example for bad, and the pie chart. You know, that's like playing with words, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this this moment it's the good, the bad, and the pie chart. And then I will come up with 5 rules how you could improve your visualizations. So I don't want to talk you out of pie charts. I will just show you a pie chart, but I will also show you different sort of visualizations and will show you how you can improve your visualizations through them by maybe not using a pie chart. So let's start with the good. So that's a visualization I think is a good one. It's probably not perfect, but it's a good one in my eyes. And I'm wondering if we can make this sort of interactive. I can see the chat window. So anybody of you, would you like to come up with any ideas why you think that I think this is a good example? Can we do that? Can you activate the chat window? Not really busy at the moment, the chat window. So
I don't think everyone's got any direct comments. If anybody does want to type something into the chat window to feedback to Marcus during it, then please go ahead.
Yeah, so I would just continue. Martin, please let me know if anybody types something in at the chat window, because I will close it right now again. So I think it's a good visualization because it's sort of simple. The most important part is really in black. The not so important part is sort of grayish. So because we're interested in the numbers, those numbers are glanced out. And obviously there's something wrong with the discount percentage because there's a big red button beside the discount percentage of 1.79. And yeah, you can see that North America is the biggest number because there's a micro chart within it showing that it's way more than half of the grand total. So let's do the bad one. As we can't do it interactive, I will just explain what I think why it's bad. Yeah, we have a really dark background, and it says something about the total, but we do not know what total it is. Then we have Europe, North America, and Pacific, and there are there's a continuous 3D line between those, and probably it does not make sense to connect Europe and North America through a line because there's no connection throughout the values. So there's no gradual change from Europe to North America, but also independent values. So we should not use any lines and probably not 3D lines. And it's really hard to say, is Europe, of course Europe is bigger than North America, the value, and Pacific is bigger than both of the other twos, but it's really, really hard for me to see how big it is because, we don't have any axes. Also there are axes, but those are 3D axes, and we don't have any values at the axis, so we don't see which numbers are we talking about. Yeah, and a really silly example for a pie chart would be this one. We see again a total, we see the greenish thing tells us 1.79, the bluish is 0.94, and the red one is 0.58. But what values are those and why are they shown in a pie chart? Pie chart usually shows part of wholes, but if you sum up 1.7 and 0.9 and 0.5, you will not come up to 100% or even 1. So we should not do any pie charts like this where the thing is not showing parts of a total. So how can we improve that, and why do we think about visualization? So if you drop out from the session, I think that this is the very important slide. I'm working on the slide since a couple of years now. I'm changing and tweaking it once in a while, and I think that's the most important thing, the most important takeaway from the whole session. So data. When I started as business intelligence consultant 20 years ago, it was really hard to get data because the disk space was very expensive, and also technical-wise it was really hard for the reproducer to connect to different data within the company, let alone to connect to things outside of the company. With the actual prices for hard disks, even SSD is very comparable, very cheap now. It's very easy to store a lot of data. And technically wise, we are really made big steps throughout the last years, so it's very easy to connect to data. If you think about a tool like, for example, Power BI, it's really easy to connect to the web, to your different data sources within the company, make use of the data. We even talk about big data because, one part of big data is that's a lot of data. That's data which is coming up very quickly, and it's very complicated to analyze. The bad thing with data is it's pretty useless. So if you see this number, 1,234,561.89, yeah, what does it mean? Is it US dollars, Australian dollars? Is it euros? Probably it's not people because there are decimals involved, but yeah, what is the data about it? So we have to put data into context. So if you tell you that this 1,234,561.89 are the sales in euros for Austria for the past year, now we get something in our head and we can partly see in your imagination what the thing is about. Then we also have to think about pertinence, so we can get rid of details or enhance the details. Maybe in the context of sales, it's good enough if you talk about 1.2 millions instead of the exact number and every small decimal number or the decimal part of the number. So when we take data into context and remove and add pertinence, think about pertinence, then we get information. And that's what we are looking for. So the report user usually doesn't want to see data, but he or she does need to see information. And to present the information, that's the real hard part, and that's what we'll talk about in this upcoming 45 minutes. As you can see, I put a multiply sample before the word presentation because as you might be aware that if you multiply one number with another number and the second number is bigger than 1, then the outcome would be bigger. But if you multiply a really huge sum with a number which is smaller than 1, then the outcome would be smaller. And that's what I mean with this multiple sign. So through presenting the information, you can do a really good job. So it's really easy for the report user to gain the information and gain insights from out the thing which is presented. Or if you do a bad job, then it's really hard for the report user to gain to see the information because we are sort of hiding information throughout the presentation. So maybe it could be a good idea to present the sales in line chart because then we can see several years and we can connect the years with the lines, and we can see, for example, that the sales is moving down. We could see this in the line chart. So that's pretty much and easy to recognize. And afterwards, we get the insight maybe that the sales are declining. That's what probably a user could be looking for, and then we should present the information in a line chart. And then it's up to the report user to set any actions. The actions are really the most important part of all the stuff because, yeah, we don't want to visualize data because it's pretty and we don't have anything, any other things to do on this day, but we do present data and want insights from the information because they have to do actions. And that's the hardest part. I will not talk about the actions here in this talk, but maybe one action could be to increase the marketing so we can push up the sales again. So how can we improve the visualization? I came up with 5 rules. So the first one is you shall use proper chart type because it's very important to use the correct and proper chart type and to not hide any information. Then you shall display as few information as possible, as much information as necessary. You shall encode the data and the information accurately. You shall highlight important things, important parts of the report, and you shall calculate measures. I will come into details to all of those 5 rules with the upcoming slides. And I want to emphasize that the rule 2 and 3 is about reducing. So after we have chosen the right chart type, we try, or you should, in my opinion, reduce the information displayed as good or as much as is possible. So it's only the pure information is shown on the data. And afterwards, it's really easy to emphasize and enrich the things on the screen, because now the screen is really simple, and it's really simple to enrich the data throughout highlighting the important things and enrich the shown information by calculate KPIs and so on. So number one, you shall use proper chart type. I mean, there are lots of chart types out there in the different tools. I will not talk about every single chart type, but I've chosen those here. So I will talk about a table, which is a special kind of chart type because usually it doesn't have so many visual things, but can show you really good details. So I think tables are really a good sort of visualization. Then we'll talk about bar and column charts. About line charts, yes, we will of course see a pie chart because I have it in the title of the talk. Then we will also discuss shortly portfolio and scatters and the map. Table. So the table, with the table you can compare individual values, which is a really good thing because of the table. So of course, for example, we have here a table showing Europe, North America, and Pacific. Then we see the sum of the discount amounts and see the numbers. As you can see, this table is not very perfect, so I did just use the defaults of Excel for producing this table, and we will of course improve this table throughout this talk, but just to show you the default. And you also can see, and that's the real advantage of a table, the precise value. So if people are out for the last digit and of your decimals of your numbers, then the table would probably be a good thing, because any other visualization will hide some of the details because you just can't see it pixel-wise that exact. So if you are looking out for the precise values, use a table. And also only with tables it's possible to show the details and the summary in one visualization. If you ever try to put the grand total in a bar chart, it's getting really annoying because the grand total is a really high bar, and all the other details are really small compared to that, so you lose a lot of insight and a lot of precision of the pie chart. With table, it's very easy to do. You just add another line or another column and you can see the grand total. And we can show several scales and units in a table. Of course, I can add the discount percentage, for example, so I can show the discount amount, which is in euros or US dollars or whatever currency we use, and we can also see the discount percentage beside that. That's also very hard to do with all of the other visualizations. Some of them can use two axes, so you put the euro on the left axis and the percentage on the right axis, but usually there's always the possibility that people get confused and they're not knowing which axis is bounded to which bar or which line in your chart. But nobody is confused when you use it in a table, because that's really easy to do. And when do we use tables? So I probably go for tables mostly as a default, and only if I can't use a table, I look up for charts and use charts, as we can see in the next slides, if you're looking for patterns, trends or exceptions, or if you want to see relationships. That's really hard to see in a table. So to see that North America is the biggest amount, yeah, because it's only 3 lines, it's easy to do. But in a bar chart, it would be much more easier to see that North America has the biggest part in the sales. Or if you want to see trends, you have to analyze in a table, you would have to read all the numbers throughout the months or years and then calculate the trend in your brain. That's really easy to do with the line chart. Or if you're looking about exceptions, so there's all of the numbers are pretty the same, but some numbers stick out. It's also really hard to do in the table, because then you have to read all the numbers, and if you can visualize it in a portfolio, for example, or scatter chart, it's really easy to see. And the same is true for relationships. So if you want to see if the discount is higher when the sales is higher, it's very easy to do in a visualization in a line chart or bar chart, but it could be tricky, at least if you have more than 3 entries in your table, to see those connections. So let's come to the bar and column chart. The bar and column chart is very has its advantages when you want to compare values. So, and you can also really easy do the ranking. So if you sort the data, and then you have the biggest bar chart, for example, at the top, or the biggest column chart on the left. And part of the whole is probably where most people are trying to use pie charts. If they are up to maybe 4 or 5 values you want to visualize, maybe the pie chart could be nice. But if it's more numbers, then definitely you should go for bar or column chart to see that things are part of a whole, because you can stack, for example, the bar charts. And it's more easy for people to recognize the size of a square than the size of a slice of a pie. Then there's the bar chart. The bar chart is the thing where we put things horizontally. So other people might call it a histogram. So we see here Pacific, North America, and Europe. They are underneath each other, and we see then Pacific has, of course, or it's very easy to see, the Pacific has the biggest amount of discount percentage in this kind of visualization. Then we could use columns, and columns could also be used over time. So you might use a line chart, but if you do not want to use line chart, probably the column chart is the best choice. So we can see here we don't have any data for 2010, then we have 2011, 2012, and again the biggest discount amount happened in 2013, which is very easy to read in this column chart. Then the line chart. We use line charts also when we want to visualize things which are changing or happening over time. So you can see 2010 again was very low, then it moved up to 2011, moved down in 2012, and the biggest this chart is the discount amount. The biggest discount amount was again in 2013. We can also use line charts for showing deviations. So for example, I have here again the discount percentage per month, and then have the months 1 to 12 on the x-axis, and the common base is January. So the first month, January, is the common base with 100%. Then we can see that in February we had slightly more discount percentage than in January. Then the discounts are pretty low throughout the year, and coming up again in November, where it's highest, and moving down again in December, and moving up to January. So that's very easy to see that the discount percentage is not the same for every month, but there are differences, and we can really see how much the differences are between those months. We can use line charts also for correlation. So in this example, I've got in red the sales amount. So you can see that the sales amount throughout the month over the years are changing. They're going up and down. And in blue, just beneath, we have the cost. And of course, if we increase the sales, also the cost increases. As this is an example from AdventureWorks, which is trading with things. Of course, if we sell more things with which we are trading, then we have to buy those things so we can sell it to our customers. And of course, so the cost is related to the sales amount. And there's also a green line at the very bottom, because the amount is not very high. So that's the discount amount, and we can easily see that probably the discount amount is not very much connected to the sales, because the sales are going up and down very much throughout the month. But we only have spikes for October. I think it's November. Yeah, in November 2011, and we have some little spikes in December, January, and February. End of 2012 and beginning of 2013. So they are not connected, and we can see that there's no correlation between the sales and the costs compared to the discount amount. Please do not use line charts for nominals. So those are things which are just not connected, like north, east, or your products. For ordinals, so if you, for example, you could use your, in Austria we have numbers in school, your characters and your characters in school are given by numbers in Austria. You should not use line charts to connect those characters, because there is no true connection in between them. In those cases, you should use the bar or the column chart instead of a line chart. Then here it is, the pie chart. I really love pies for desserts, sometimes also for breakfast, but I don't like them very much for visualizations. So the only use case for a pie chart is to see the majority of values. So if we have this example, it's very easy to see that the majority is the red part in this pie chart. The red part is North America. So in North America, we have the biggest discount amount, which you can see in the upper left corner of the chart. That's talking about the discount amount. So yeah, if it's up to, as I already said, if it's up to 4 or 5 values you will show in your pie chart, and if you're looking for majorities, then it's okay. If you're not looking for any majorities, and if you have more than 5 values, you should not use pie charts, because they're just hiding the information and not showing the very details. In this case, I mean, in the pie chart, it's really, really hard to see how big the green slice is compared to the red one. So if you want to really calculate it out, is it, I think, yeah, it's definitely less than half, yeah, but is it a 16th, or what is it? We're really bad, we humans are really bad in recognizing the size of slices. We are probably good in knowing or guessing the size of squares, but those round, and if something is round or has angles, then it's really hard for us to guess it. So most people put numbers on the pie chart to show the numbers, but then I would recommend, yeah, stick with the table, because yeah, in the table you could see they're very same, and it does not take up that much space on the screen like the pie chart does. Portfolio and scatter. So what is a portfolio chart? With a portfolio chart or scatter chart, you can show many values on your screen, and it allows you to show 2 or 3, even 3 measures simultaneously in one chart, and you can watch it for spikes and outliers. As you can see here, that's a portfolio chart made with PowerView. So we have on the x-axis, we have the discount amount in thousands. On the y-axis, we have the product standard costs in millions. And the size of the element on the screen shows us the sales amounts. So the bigger the thing on the screen is, the bigger or the more sales amount we had. And if you in PowerView, it's even possible to put it on a to show the dates. And there's a play axis, and we can then see those patterns happening over the years, over the months, over time. So this one, this example, you can very easily see that North America has the biggest sales, has bigger sales than Europe. The product standard cost, of course, is bigger than in Europe, but the discount amount is probably the same like in Europe, so there's not much difference. And it's like we would expect, because if the sales is low, then we also amount the discount. We also would expect that the discount is low. But when we move out through the time, we can see then the specific appearing. So we have a new sales area, obviously. But what's really interesting is that North America is still bigger than Europe, but Europe is more left than North America is. So that means that Europe has a bigger discount amount in thousands, so in euros or US dollars. That's the amount, not the percentage. So even we don't sell that much like in North America, we're giving more money away through discounts. And that would be some insight. Somebody would like to find out what's the reason for that, what happened there, is the data wrong, or did we really do more discounts in Europe than in North America? The last of the visualizations and chart types I want to show you is the map. So one example would be a heat map. I took that example from one of the soccer teams here in Austria. I'm not a big soccer fan, but I really like this heat map. So as you can see here, there are greenish, yellowish, and reddish parts in this visualization. So we have a soccer field here, and the more red some areas are on this map, the more activity was. So we can really see that probably we were playing from bottom up to the top, our team, which is visualized here in this heat map, and we had some spots where nobody were probably in, so that's the right bottom corner, for example, but we could shoot probably some corners from against the enemies from the upper right part because it's greenish. So they have some people put out the football to the goal, and we can see that there are some reddish parts. So there were really tough fights there, and a lot of things happened out there. So probably this was one person who had to attack from the left because there's more movement, more being there on the left side of the soccer field than on the right side of the field. Then we can also use maps to visualize mass of data points. So we can see that there are not really random points, but there are gathering at some points on the screen. So there's one part here along this screen, along this street, where lots of data is covering here or gathering here, and there's a very big spot here with a high density of data. So that's really easy to see with a map. That would be really hard to gain out of a table or see with any other visualizations. And you could even think about combining a heat map with a mass of data points to find out things. So I had once a project doing for a customer. They are building drugstores. So what they are to do is that they use maps to visualize the demographics, because usually the older people are becoming, the more they need drugs. And usually you don't do an extra tour to the drugstore, but if you buy your bread and your daily things, you usually head out and want to buy also the drugs you were prescribed. So usually a good point for a new drugstore is where lots of old people are, and where already there are retailers, because the people are driving to the retailers. And you could also add data points where you could see all the other drugstores. So then it's very easy to see where are empty spots in sort of where this is really good idea to put a new drugstore, and where are very busy spots where already are a lot of drugstores in the neighborhood, so it's not so good to open another one. And this insight helped really, did the customer really help, because it's really tough to do this by lists or other visualizations, but it was very easy just to see with your eyes when you put all this information in a clever sort on maps. Please do not show just simple data. I think I'm also guilty of doing this if it doing demonstrations, if I'm doing demos, to just show the functionality of the tool, and I use data like the adventure works, then I show how are the sales in US and how are the sales in Europe, but that's not a very smart way of visualizing things, because the map takes up very much space on the screen, and usually I can expect from my report users that they know where US or where a city or where the sales areas are, so it does not gain really new information and gain insights, so you should not do that. So the second rule is you shall display as few information as possible, as much information as necessary. So what I mean with that is we should reduce the ink factor. So just think about ink or space on the screen as a very expensive thing, and you should only put things on the screen or on the paper which are really necessary, especially nowadays where people are using the telephones. Usually the telephone is not very big, and they still want to see the most important information, so you should not waste the space with big logos or frames or, I don't know, smiling faces or something like that. That could be funny if you see it the first time, so do some pretty person on the screen, so it's very interesting at the beginning, but after some times you have seen this smiling face, it's really getting annoying, and you're wondering why this face is taking up the space instead of giving you more and better information. So get rid of any useless decoration, which is very hard to do sometimes, because the defaults for many of the tools out there where you can build reports on, the defaults are not very good, so they put a lot of things on the screen which you just have to delete as one of the first steps if you're building new reports without having any good templates. Then you should think about the scaling. So for decimals, as we have seen in the first example, I put I think it was 4 or 5 decimals for the sales. That's very useless. So you should think about it if we can just get rid of the decimals, or if we really need 2 decimals, or sometimes it's okay to show it in thousands or millions or billions, depending on what are we talking. And this is especially true for time. So some of the tools are, if you use a date, they always show not only the date but also the time to a very high precision. And if it's just days or months, just get rid of all the details and just put the year and the month name on it, for example, instead of having a very long text telling you that it was at midnight at 0 milliseconds, which is not very useful, and again takes up space on the screen, which we could use in a better way. So when we think about the first example, the table I've shown you, so that's the default in Excel. So what could we do? We can get rid of things and can, so for example, the row labels, we could put away the row labels. We could take away the sum of discount amount and just put the discount amount in the header. And of course, we can remove the decimals when we're talking about sales amounts in euros. So we just show it to 1 euro and not the parts of the euros. The same is true for any visualization. So if we see the x-axis, the y-axis showing 300,000 as 300,000, so maybe it's a better idea to just put ones that takes thousands on it and then save the space and making easier to read by just seeing 300 instead of is it 1,000 or it's in millions. So just see, it's in 1,000 and it's 300. So that's makes it quicker to see what's happening there. Yeah, the same is true for the pie chart. So for the pie chart, we could ease it up by removing the numbers in, removing the decimals in the pie chart. And a big disadvantage, again, a big disadvantage for pie charts is that you always have to remember color. So in this case, it's just 3 colors, but sometimes you see pie charts with a lot of data, and there's not just one radish, but 2 or 3 radish slices. So then you have to remember in your mind which kind of red you're looking for and move your eye from the left, from the pie chart to the legend on the right side, and then you have to scan through all the colors and try to recognize the number again. So your eyes are constantly moving left and right, which is annoying, and I think it makes you just tired. So we can get rid of the legend. So that's what I would recommend if you want to use pie charts. Try to not use a legend, but put all the information directly to the pie chart, which makes it much more easy to recognize things are showing there. So the third rule is encode. You shall encode accurately. What I mean is that the most important thing should be at the most prominent place on the screen or on the sheet of paper, and at least for the culture I live in, people read from left to right, from top to bottom. So the very most important things should be in the upper left corner of the screen of this paper, and usually we can easily do that by sorting. So we should not show any information with without having any order, but always think about the order. Should it be alphabetically? Should it be by numbers descending, so the highest numbers is on the top, or are we looking for the lowest numbers? That the lowest numbers should be on the top, so that you get the most important thing very easy to read. Then you should always use zero-based charts. So because if you don't zero-base your charts, it's really hard to see differences between the amounts. So sometimes you see that one bar chart is doubled as big as another bar chart, but if they're not if the chart is not zero-based, then you cannot be sure if it's really double or what is the relationship in between. So I would say the first rule is always use zero-based charts, and the second rule is in cases you can't use any zero-based charts, then stick to rule number 1, which is always use zero-based charts. And you should also think about colors. So I tend to not use any colors out of gray. only one exception if the color has really a meaning. So if you're used to that the US numbers are always shown in a specific type of green, then stick to that. Stick to that in every of your reports, in your visualizations. But if there's no special meaning in the color, then don't use any colors at all. So I stick to shades of gray, and I mean the color gray, not Mr. Shade, not Mr. Gray. And this helps also people who are colorblind, and approximately 5% of the of people are colorblind in one way or another, and using colors without thinking about how they could be recognized by colorblind people. You should not use any colors then. So there's a really great website, wischeck.com. I want to show you in this example. I think the website itself is sometimes a little bit outdated, from the how it is made, but the content is really good. As it says here in the first part, you can simulate colorblind visions, and you can correct your images. So there's an algorithm which is free of charge, which is called Daltonize. So you can correct the images, so it's also good looking and recognizable for colorblind viewers. So let's see what this site offers. So one thing is you can run your images through those sites. So you can upload an image, for example, a report, and I did this. I will show you the good and the bad and the pie chart afterwards with all three forms of color deficit. So there are three forms of color deficit. There's Deuteranope, which is a form of red-green color deficit. There's Protanope, which is another form of red-green color deficit, and there's Stratanope, which is a blue-yellow deficit. And it's very rare, but it's still out there. And many people might not know that they're colorblind, because how do you discover that you don't see color? Because it was always that way. So a colorblindness is nothing but which evolves over time, but you are colorblind or not at the moment you were born. So I will show you those examples later on my screen. And Daltonize is a algorithm where you can take a picture and change the colors in a way that it's still good to see. Still, everybody can distinguish the colors. Even colorblind people can distinguish the color. So if you talk with non-colorblind people and ask how many fruits are here on those piles, they will tell you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because it's 5 different colors, and you can easily distinguish this. For colorblind people, it could be, depending on the color blindness, they could answer 1, 2, 3, 4, because they cannot see, depending on the color blindness type, they would not see a difference in those 2 piles. So that's color-wise, it looks like the same pile. And it's fun to see it here. But if this happens with your reports, with your pie charts, then they're summing up the wrong numbers. That would be just not good. So you could force to use good colors, or you could even run. I think and I will show you the color brewer afterwards, which offers colors which are distinguishable by everybody, even for colorblind people. And this is not just a thing you do for other people, because if you distinguish your colors that is also useful for colorblind people, it's also easier to read for non-colorblind people. So everybody, it's a win-win situation using the right colors. So if you see this painting, that's how it looks for people without any color deficits, and for some type of color blind people it would like this. So they are missing some of the differences here, so it's all this brownish instead of having all those really nice and strong colors. It's getting it's okay, but it's looking like a desert instead of having here really nice marks. And there's two ways you can change the color through daltonizing. So one way would be to make it like this, or the other one would be like this. This is a really heavy form of that, so it changes a lot in the picture. But this would be okay, and it's definitely better than the second one. So this is a way colorblind people would also see it like this, so they could see the distinguishes between all those areas on those marks. And if you're not sure about what color to choose, there's the second website I want you to check out. It's Color Brewer. So you can basically choose how many colors you need. If you need those colors sequential, so it's building up, so from light to dark, or if it's diverging, so it's moving from one color to another color, or if it should be qualitative, so it's just independent colors. And you can also opt for having those colors in a colorblind safe way, having them print friendly, so if you print them out on a black and white printer, that the colors are still distinguishable, and photocopy safe. So even if you print it out and make a copy of it, that it's still distinguishable, and that's a really, really useful thing. So let's go to the examples. So if we have here, there happened something. The size is not correct, but we can remove all those numbers we do not need. So as I said, I want to stick with the grayish part. Emphasize the numbers so they are black and not grayish, and getting rid of all the colors. The same is true for every bar chart or column chart I'm using. If there's no meaning to the color, I just stick with the grayish form. It would be another, if there's a special reason to have 2011 in reddish, then use it, but if there's no reason, just put every bar chart in the same color. For the pie chart, we cannot use change the colors, because then they would not be distinguishable, but you should always think about the sort order. So usually people expect that you start with the first slice at 12 o'clock and then moving clockwise around, so that makes it more usable, more readable, and everybody is aware of that counterclockwise the sizes are getting smaller and smaller. Yeah, when we put those bad examples through the WizCheck thing, then you can see here it's the original with red and green, and for the Turner people it would be just the same greenish color. For the protonope it would be just another greenish, it's more dark maybe, so the greenish and the red and the green is more distinguishable, but still it's greenish, so it's hard for them to recognize the differences. For Tritonope type of people, it's not that bad in this case, because now it's getting red and bluish, and that would be okay to distinguish those colors. For the pie chart, here again the original one, so we can easily, if you're not colorblind, you can easily distinguish between the red and the blue and the green part. But if you're Titanope, it could be hard to see the difference between the red and the green. Both are brownish and just lighter or darker. For the Protonope type, it's a little bit better in this case, and for the Tritonope type of color blind people, it's really hard to distinguish the green and the blue, because now we have those colors in sort of bluish, just distinguished by the intensity of the color. So after we have made everything easy and easy to read, we can then highlight important things by just putting text there, saying attention, there's something wrong, putting a comment which are coming up dynamically. We can use again color, because now everything is in a very smooth color. The bars are just in gray, and if we want to emphasize something, it's very easy to just put a simple color or color one of the bar charts. And we can of course use KPIs, symbols, so we do a spot, as I did in my example of the good example, to a certain, or you could use those microcharts, use data bars within your table, for example, or use icon sets. But again, be very careful with the icon sets, that maybe if you just use round symbols with those colors, red, blue, and green, maybe it's not very distinguishable for some of your report users. And if you use faces or something like that, always be aware that in different colors, different things would be recognized differently. So we don't want to offend anybody by doing a check mark or a smiling or sad smiley on it. So always think about and get back to the reproducer if this is really fulfilling also in their culture, if it's really fulfilling the aim also in their culture. So with the table, I just put in those microcharts, so we now can easily see that North America takes up more than half of the discount amount, and in this case, probably something is wrong with the discount percentage. Probably we have a rule that the discount percentage may only be up to 1%, but for the Pacific region, we have more than 1%, so I put a red dot there to gain the so people see that there's something important. The same is true here for the bar chart. So if you want to emphasize the current year, for example, or the most important year, we just color it in a nice color, but all the others should be stay in gray or something like that. So the last rule, you shall calculate measures. I always get sort of sad or wondering about if I see people sitting in front of their really expensive laptops using really expensive software to analyze their data and information, and then they grab out a calculator and calculate something which is on the screen, which is I think really a bad idea, because if you type in the numbers you might have a typo, so the outcome would be maybe a wrong one. And then I think if the number is really important, why don't you put it on screen? So we should really enrich our reports with all those measures and KPIs and calculations the reproducer is using. So nobody should be nobody should be forced to use a calculator or export anything to Excel and squeezing out the numbers they're really looking for, but we should show them this in the first place. So you should display calculated values, which is very easy, for example, in Excel. Of course, it's also easy in all the other tools around. So please make use of this and find out what your reproducers are really looking for, so you can enhance the reports with this information. So that's I'm sort of through my sneak preview. So you're still invited to come to my session at the PATH Summit. What I cut it out from this sneak preview is all the demos. So if you want to see how everything is working really in Excel reporting services and or Power BI, please come to my session. So again, wrap up. I think this is good because it's really a smooth, simple table emphasizing the most important thing, that there's a grand total which is shining out, that North America, which is on the top, has the biggest area sales discount amount wise. Then the second is Europe and Pacific, so it's ordered, and you can see that there's a red dot for the discount percentage 1.79. So somebody should look out that, or that's something we have to investigate. The bad, as I said in the beginning, is really a problem concerning it's a grayish background. The 3D effect makes it really hard to see how big or not big some numbers are. The scale, the numbers at the scales at the axis are missing, so we don't know what numbers are really talking about. Probably this chart is not zero-based, but we don't know. So we can't see it, we can't prove it from this chart. And of course for the pie chart, it's really silly to have numbers like 1.7 and 0.9 and 0.5 summing up in a pie chart, because at least those numbers are not part of a whole. So show percentages, but not the, this is the discount, which doesn't make any sense to put it here. And also the three-dimensional effect makes it really hard to see how big are those slices compared to each other, because if something is in the back of the 3D chart, it's really hard to see. It's always taking less space on the screen, so it seems to be smaller than it's in reality. So the solution, if you want to use those numbers, maybe some of you have discovered that I always put the same number on the table and on the bad and the pie chart. It's always the discount percentage, and it's really hard to see it in the bad example and in the pie chart example. If you want to visualize it, not in a table, but in some sort of chart, then think about using, in this case I used a bar chart. So now we can see the discount percentages, we can see the number, we can guess the numbers, we can see that Pacific is the biggest, North America is the smallest. So I would think about using a bar chart instead of those pie chart or the bad example. It's the same numbers, but it's really hard to guess what we are talking about here. It's very easy to see in a bar chart. So call to action, please check all your charts and all the reports you're using. Think about, is it really the most fitting and the best fitting chart types you have chosen for your reports? Please think about reducing your reports. Think about what you can get rid of on your report without losing any important information on the screen. And then it's very easy to enrich your report by emphasizing things which are important, so you can really see, the report user can really see what's happening and which actions he has to take into account. So wrap up, please use always the proper chart type. Please display as few information as possible and as much information as necessary, and encode accurately, so you reduce everything on your screen and on your real estate of your reports. And then think about enriching everything, because it's very easy now, so you can highlight important things and you can calculate measures, so nobody has to use the calculators. Are there any questions I can answer right now? In case are there any questions I can't answer now, or we are getting out of time, please check out my blog, and I will get through all of those questions through my blog and answer them there. Martin, are there any questions?
So we've got a couple here. I think the first one is probably more of a comment back to the start of the presentation, where you were talking about some of the charts, and Beverly's probably more of a comment that maybe a small sample size would lend itself to a pie chart.
Mm-hmm.
Martin has asked, at university, his professor once told them that a line chart should typically be used if you have continuous values and you really know what the development was between the points. Between each adjacent point. Otherwise, you could use a step line chart to show the measuring points. For example, in your example showing the line with 3 years on the x-axis, the line is it's kind of misleading, as it surely wasn't a linear growth between 1 year and the other, but perhaps more kind of a zigzag line.
Yeah, I would support this definitely, yeah.
Anton has asked, doesn't charts become very ugly when you use only gray colors?
Bar charts? Yeah, I mean, I'm ugly and beautiful. That's in the eye of the who it sees. But I think I use it for a reason, because yeah, if it's all the bars I'm showing are similar important, then I show them in the same color, because at least for me, I always think about, why is this bar chart red and the other one is green? Is there a meaning behind that? And if there's no meaning, I do not want to confuse my report users by using those colors. You could also use other colors than gray. So, for example, you could paint all your bar charts in a reddish, for example, reddish color. But I would use very, how to say it, yeah, not very dark and not very emphasized colors, but more pastel-like things. And as I don't like pastel by myself, I stick to the gray things. So afterwards, it's very easy to emphasize things. That's why I'm using gray parts. Or I would recommend to stick with the shades of gray.
Fabulous. That's all the questions that we have. Yeah,
that's right in time. So if there are no other questions?
Nothing else. So if you want to move on to the slides, and we'll do the wrap-up.
Yeah, very good. So is there any previous questions? We had just the questions. So yes, Martin, are you ready? Yeah.
Yep, so if you want to go into this one, so for everyone, stay tuned for the next session coming up in 24 hours have passed, which is optimizing database access and diving into .NET SQL Client with Martin Prajic. And if we just finally wrap up with thanking everybody for their attendance, and thank you again, Marcus, for your time in presenting today.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for attending my session. I hope I see you out in Seattle. Bye-bye.